Lyra lived on Candora, an icy moon that circled a blue gas giant. The sky over Candora was a soft twilight even at noon. The ground was white and silver. The wind sang across the open ice and made long lines in the snow. Small crystals glittered in the air like tiny stars. The colony dome sat low against the cold, and a faint blue shield shimmered around them to keep out the frost. Inside the domes, people were busy, fast, and focused. They grew food in warm green bays. They repaired drones in the machine hall. They mapped the deep ice with scanners that hummed and blinked all day. Everyone had a place. Everyone had a role. But Lyra often felt like empty space in a crowded room. Her adoptive family was not mean in loud ways. They were simply distant. They spoke to each other in short notes. They made plans that did not include her. When she tried to help, they often said, "It is fine," and finished the work without her. It was not cruel, but it was cold. The cold outside felt honest. The cold inside felt heavy. Lyra was quiet and careful. She liked small tools, little projects, and slow patience. She also liked sound. She heard patterns in the way vents breathed. She heard a soft beat when a pump needed oil. She heard the thin whine that meant a sensor was sad. No one else seemed to notice these tiny songs. But Lyra did, and the sounds made her feel less alone. One night, when the dome lights dimmed to a gentle blue, Lyra lay awake and listened. The leaks in the west wall sang a low note, then a higher one. The circulation fan settled into a slow lullaby. Far beyond the shield, the wind whistled over the ice. And then she heard it. A soft, clear tone like a silver flute. It rose in the air, bright and thin, and it seemed to call her name without words. She sat up. The tone faded. Then it came again from farther away, as if a distant star was singing to her. Lyra's heart beat fast. She had heard this tone before, a long time ago, when she was very small. Back then she had told people about it, but they only smiled and said it was the wind. She had decided to keep it private after that. She slipped on her coat and boots. She pulled a scarf over her nose and mouth. She held her gloves in her hands for a moment, feeling the soft lining, and then she put them on and stood by the airlock door. The dome was quiet. Her family was asleep. She stared at the blinking panel and waited for the right rhythm in the air. There. The silver tone rose again, thin as a thread of light. She opened the airlock and stepped into the small chamber. The inner door sealed. The outer door slid open. A breath of clear cold touched her face. The stars above the shield looked sharp like new needles. She stepped outside. The blue shield cast a soft glow on the ice. The domes looked like smooth stones, and the glows from their windows made warm patches on the ground. Lyra stood still and listened. She did not rush. The wind teased the edges of the shield. The silver tone called from the east. Lyra followed. She kept close to the shield for a while, her boots crunching softly. Then she found the maintenance gate, tapped the proper key, and slipped through. The true night of Candora wrapped around her. It was not scary. It was large and open and quiet. The stars seemed closer without the shield between them and her eyes. Lyra walked toward the sound. She could not explain how she knew where to go. She just felt the note leaning in one direction. When it dropped, she turned a little. When it rose, she straightened. It was like listening to a friend call across a bright field. As she walked, she passed low hills of snow where the wind had carved soft shapes. She saw thin pillars of ice that looked like clear bells. The bells caught starlight and sent it dancing. Lyra stopped by one and touched it with a gloved finger. It made a quiet ring. She smiled. The silver note moved again, guiding her to a canyon where the ice was old and blue. The canyon had smooth walls that rose on both sides like frozen waves. Down in the middle, a narrow path ran between shadows. Lyra paused at the top. The wind settled. The moonlight from the gas giant painted a wide ribbon of pale light along the canyon floor. A new tone joined the first one. It was deeper, as if a large heart was singing beneath the ice. Lyra's breath fogged the scarf. She took a step down, then another. The cold felt clear in her lungs. The path was steady and firm. At the bottom, she stopped and looked ahead. There was a figure in the light. It was tall, not like a person, and it moved with slow grace. Lyra watched as it stepped from shadow to moonlight, and the breath caught in her throat. It was a wolf, but more than a wolf. Its coat was silver, not gray. Its eyes were bright, not wild. The light made thin halos along each hair of its coat. It was not a beast. It was a presence. Lyra stood very still. The wolf lifted its head and looked at her. She felt no fear. She felt seen. She felt known. This, she knew, was a star wolf. People told stories about them in soft voices, mostly to pass time. Some said the star wolves were guardians of the ice. Some said they were an old song made into living shape. Some said they were just tricks of the wind. Lyra had always believed there was more. Now she knew. The silver wolf stepped closer, then paused with one paw raised. It did not show teeth. It did not growl. It did not stalk. It waited as if asking a question without words. Lyra lifted her hand, palm open. She did not reach to touch. She just showed the shape of trust. The wolf lowered its paw and stood a little taller. A soft tone like the first one rose in the air. It came from the wolf, but also from the ice and also from the stars. Lyra had never heard a sound so gentle and so clear at the same time. "Hello," she said through her scarf. Her voice sounded small in the wide canyon, but it felt right. "I can hear you." The wolf tilted its head. Another tone rose. This one with a small curve at the end that felt like a smile. Lyra smiled too. The wolf's ears turned. It looked beyond her, toward the colony dome far away. Then it looked back at her and its gaze grew steady, like a quiet promise. A soft pulse of light fluttered under the ice not far from where they stood. It flowed like a ripple and faded. Lyra's eyes widened. The wolf looked at the ground, then at her. It was as if the moon itself had taken a breath. Lyra stood there for a long moment. The cold numbed her nose and fingertips, but she did not want to leave. She felt a warmth that did not come from her coat. It came from the sense that she had arrived at the beginning of something true. From the rim of the canyon, a small drone light flickered. A guard drone from the colony had followed her signal. It hovered, scanned, and sent tiny green dots across the ice. Lyra did not move. The wolf did not move. The drone hummed a little closer. Lyra knew the drones were careful and kind. They were built to help, not to harm. But they were also programmed to keep people inside the shield at night. If the drone asked her to return, it would report her if she did not. She looked at the wolf and felt a small ache of worry. The wolf lifted its head and sang a soft tone. It was not loud. It was not sharp. It was like a slow bell at dawn. The drone paused and wavered. Its sensors blinked and then steadied. It drifted to one side as if confused, then rose a little and held position. Lyra watched, amazed. The tone had calmed the drone. It had not broken anything. It had not pushed. It had simply changed the harmony of the air, and the drone systems had shifted with it like a leaf following a current. She looked at the wolf. "You can help me," she said. "And maybe I can help you." The wolf's eyes were bright and soft at the same time. Lyra felt a motion in the ground, very small. It was not a quake. It was like a heartbeat. The ice was alive in its own slow way, and the wolf was listening to it. Lyra closed her eyes and listened too. Beneath the ice there was a slow song. It was deep and patient. It had many parts like a choir. Some parts were low and steady. Some parts were high and thin. Lyra heard a small discord, far away and faint, as if a broken note had snuck into the melody. She did not know what it meant. But she knew she had heard it, and she knew the wolf had heard it too. When she opened her eyes, the wolf was closer. It had moved so lightly that she had not heard a step. It stood just a few paces away, tall and calm, with a halo of tiny crystals around its fur where its warmth met the night. It raised its head toward the east where the canyon bent and opened toward a field of blue ice. Then the wolf turned and began to walk. Lyra looked back toward the colony. The drone hovered, steady now, watching. She thought of the warm green bays and the hum of the machine hall. She thought of her small bunk and the thin blanket, and the quiet, careful way she moved through rooms where no one was waiting for her voice. She looked again at the wolf. It paused and glanced back at her, and in that glance she felt a message. You can choose. Lyra breathed in. The air was cold and bright. She took one step toward the wolf. Then another. Her boots clicked softly on the ice. The drone drifted, uncertain, but did not follow. The wolf led her along the ribbon of moonlight. The canyon melted into a wide plain where the ice held old secrets in blue layers, clear as glass. They walked together. The wolf did not rush. Lyra did not speak. She listened to the soft pads of its feet, the whisper of crystals, the small wave of gentle tones that rose from time to time like signals from a friend. After a while, the sky shifted. The gas giant rolled and a new glow spread across the plain. The light looked like a second dawn. Ahead, she saw formations like trees made of ice. Tall columns rose from the ground. each with branches of crystal that spread like stars. The soft glowing path led Lyra and the silver wolf deeper into the icy plains. The light under the ground moved like a living river. It curved between crystal trees, then slipped into a long valley of smooth blue ice. The stars above them shone brighter as they moved farther away from the colony's shield. There was no sound but the whisper of the wind, the soft pads of the wolf's feet, and the quiet hum of the glowing path. Lyra walked carefully. She had never gone this far from the colony. The air was colder here, but it did not bite. It felt clean, like breathing in starlight. The wolf walked beside her with steady steps. Its silver fur caught the light from the glowing path, making it shine as if it carried a piece of the night sky with it. As they moved forward, Lyra began to notice more spirals in the ice. Some were carved deep, others were only faint marks, almost hidden under the snow. She ran her hand over one of them as she passed. It was smooth and warm in the center, like a memory trapped in frozen time. The wolf stopped. Lyra lifted her eyes. In front of them stood a wide circle of crystal towers. They rose high into the air, taller than the domes back home. At the center of the circle was a hollow space filled with a soft blue light. The light moved like mist, twisting and breathing. Lyra felt her heart beat faster. She knew this was the heart of the song she had been hearing all her life. The wolf stepped forward into the circle. Lyra followed. The air grew warm around them. A low sound rose from the ground, a slow and steady note like a heartbeat made of music. Lyra could feel it under her boots. It vibrated through her legs, through her chest, and into her hands. It was not just sound. It was a message. She closed her eyes. The song grew clearer. It was layered. At the bottom was the deep heartbeat. Above it were hundreds of light, thin tones like small stars singing together. And in the middle she heard a single broken note, a crack in the music. It was small but sharp, like a tear in cloth. The wolf lifted its head. Its ears turned. It had heard it too. Lyra opened her eyes. The wolf's bright gaze met hers. It stepped closer and touched its nose to the center of the glowing mist. A ripple spread out in all directions. The towers lit up like candles in the wind, one after another, until the whole circle shone like a blue sunrise. The air felt alive. Lyra felt the music pulling at her. It was not frightening. It was like a hand reaching out to her, asking her to listen deeper. She took off one glove, just one, and knelt on the smooth ice. She pressed her bare hand to the glowing surface. A wave of warmth flowed into her skin. In her mind, she saw images, soft and quick like dreams. Long ago, before any colony came, this place had been full of light. The star wolves had lived here with the song. The song had guided the seasons, kept the air balanced, and carried messages through the ice like rivers of light. But something had gone wrong. The broken note had appeared, and slowly the song had weakened. The wolf looked at Lyra as if it already knew what she had seen. It let out a low tone, almost like a hum, and the towers answered with a soft ring. The broken note trembled again. Lyra knew this was why it had brought her here. It needed her to help, but how could she help? She was just one girl. She didn't have a machine. She didn't have tools. She only had her voice, and the way she could hear things others could not. The wolf took a step closer and bowed its head. Its eyes were kind and steady. It was telling her that was enough. Lyra stood slowly. She walked to the center of the glowing mist. The wolf walked beside her. She placed both hands on the ice. She closed her eyes and listened, not with her ears, but with her heart. The broken note was small but clear. It was like a lost child crying in the corner of a wide room. She opened her mouth. She didn't know exactly what to do, but she trusted the song. She began to hum softly, following the deep heartbeat she felt in the ground. At first her voice was small, almost shy. But the wolf raised its head and added its own tone, low, warm, strong. The two sounds met in the air and something shifted. The crystal towers brightened. The mist swirled faster, like wind dancing through a field of stars. Lyra's hum grew steadier. She added another note, then another, building a small melody around the broken sound. She did not try to hide the crack. She sang to it gently like a friend. The wolf's tone curved around hers like a ribbon of silver light. The broken note trembled again, but this time it was not sharp. It was softening. The ground glowed brighter. The spiral symbols around the circle lit up one by one. The air shimmered with a soft wave of blue light. The song of the ice grew louder and stronger. It was no longer weak. It was waking up. Lyra opened her eyes. She saw the mist above the center form into a shape, not solid but clear enough to see. It was a spiral of light, floating gently in the air like the mark she had seen on the ground. The wolf stared at it with calm, proud eyes. Lyra felt a tear slip down her cheek, not of sadness but of wonder. Then the spiral pulsed once. A new tone joined the song. It was pure and whole. The broken note was gone. The song was complete again. The light spread across the ice plains like a wave. It ran far beyond the circle, touching the hills, the crystal trees, and even the edges of the colony's shield. People who were sleeping in their warm domes woke to the glow outside. They opened their doors and windows. They stepped out to see the aurora dancing across the sky. None of them had ever seen Kandora shine like this. Lyra stood in the center, her hands still on the ice. The wolf stood beside her, tall and strong. The towers sang with her and she sang back. She felt small but also part of something endless. The wolf lowered its head and pressed its forehead lightly against hers. It was warm. In that soft touch she felt a wordless message. You are one of us now. Lyra smiled. For the first time in her life she did not feel invisible. She felt seen, heard, and needed. She belonged. The towers slowly dimmed, settling into a soft blue glow. The wolf turned its head toward the colony. Lyra followed its gaze. People were gathering near the edge of the shield, staring at the sky, at the light on the ice, and at the two figures in the distance. Lyra felt a small knot in her chest. She had left without permission. She had broken rules. She had gone beyond the shield. But then she remembered something more important. She had also fixed something no one else even knew was broken. The wolf walked toward the colony at an easy pace. Lyra followed. As they neared the shield, the drones circled above them, scanning, blinking, confused but not hostile. People were waiting at the gate. They looked both worried and amazed. No one had ever seen a star wolf walk so close to the colony. The wolf stopped just outside the gate. Lyra stepped past the threshold of the shield. The air grew warmer again. People whispered. Some pointed. A young boy in a red jacket whispered, "That's her. She's with it." Lyra stood tall, though her heart beat fast. She didn't have to explain everything. The sky above her explained it for her. Glowing ribbons of blue and silver light twisting together, singing the same song she had just helped repair. The sound wasn't loud, but it filled every corner of the air. An elder from the colony stepped forward. Her gray hair shimmered in the light. Her voice was calm. "You went outside alone," she said softly. "And you came back." "With the Alpha." Lyra nodded. She didn't know how to explain everything she had seen, so she simply said, "The song was broken. We fixed it." The elder's eyes softened. She looked at the wolf, then at the shining plains. She stepped aside. "Then you have done something none of us could." The wolf let out a single, clear tone. It rose high into the air and echoed far away, reaching the crystal trees, the hills, and the open sky. Other tones answered in the distance. More star wolves were out there listening. For the first time, their voices were no longer hidden. They were singing with the colony's world. Lyra smiled. The elder touched her shoulder gently. "You have given us something more than light," she said. "You have given us a future." The wolf turned to Lyra one last time. Its eyes were calm. It lowered its head, then stepped backward outside the shield. It raised its head to the sky and sang. Other silver shapes began to appear at the horizon, more wolves glowing in the blue light. Lyra felt no sadness. She knew this was not the end. It was the beginning. The wolf's song faded into the night, blending with the stars. Lyra stood at the edge of the shield and watched as the wolves disappeared into the ice plains. The glowing path slowly dimmed, leaving only a soft shimmer like a memory written in snow. Behind her, people were talking, asking questions, making plans. For the first time, Lyra didn't shrink away. She stood with her shoulders straight. They had seen what she could do. They had heard her voice. The elder turned to the others. "She will be our bridge," she said, "between us and the Guardians." That night, the colony gave Lyra a new name, the First Voice. In the days that followed, things changed. The colony built listening towers near the crystal trees, not to control the song, but to hear it. People learned to walk softly on the ice, to follow its rhythms, to speak with quiet respect. Lyra taught them how to listen, not just with ears, but with hearts. The star wolves returned often, moving like silver wind across the plains. They did not hide anymore. They walked beside humans, calm and free. The song under the ice grew stronger each day, filling the land with life and light. The cold no longer felt empty. It felt full.